Think Louisa.
120 volts AC power. Alright, so now I'm going to start mounting some of my devices onto the bottom of this box. So this is our Victron Energy isolated DC to DC charger. This will hook up to our car batteries, which we have dual AGM batteries in the car, and we also have a dual alternator in the vehicle. And that will, when we're driving the vehicle, use the alternator's energy to charge the house batteries. So that's going to be super convenient. So as we drive around, we'll charge up the house batteries.
What you doing, Big Socks? Hello, Big Socks. What is this process called? Copper wire getting...
We're crimping the lugs.
Crimping the lugs for our batteries, which takes a lot of strength, and that's why I'm filming and not doing this part.
It's actually, I mean, you could do it.
Not
You
too
gonna
bad.
try it?
We would recommend copper wire.
Yeah, the copper stranded. It's listed on Amazon as welding wire, but it's like 4/0 copper stranded.
And it's more
it
flexible.
Makes a big difference, yeah. All right, so this $20 vise, or this $20 crimper, the reviews on Amazon said put it in the vise rather than use the sledgehammer. So this is the first one we're doing. So let's see how it works.
Think Louisa. Think Louisa. Is that her name?
I don't know.
I don't either. Final result.
Feels pretty tight. Let's take it out and see. That looks pretty on there.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah, I don't think that's going anywhere. All right, down in the barn. It's Friday evening, and the electrical system is coming along well. I have the batteries up here, but not hooked up yet, because what I'm going to do is build a little base with some just angle metal I got that'll hold the batteries in place, and then I have a strap that I'm going to put over the top of it to just strap them down. That way, if we're hitting any bumps or anything goes, we had some turbulence on the road. These things aren't going anywhere, so I'll show you guys how I'm going to do that. Basically, I'm using this angle iron and drilling it in to the base to hold them in place, and then I'll use the strap over the top to hold them down. So I'm about to cut this metal into the sizes I need. So this should be the size that I need. Alright, so I'm pretty excited because I have the batteries in and wired up. I put this metal in to kind of make just a little bit of a container for the batteries so that they can't really move around when they're in. And I also put a strap on there, as you can see. Let me show you guys the back. So they're all being held in. We have metal pieces on 4 sides, and then I drilled this strap under this piece of metal here, so that way this can be held on real tight over the top, just to make sure, like I said, if we hit any bumps or anything, that they're not going to be moving around in the back. But they're all wired up. The last thing I have to do is put this positive cable here onto this positive node, and then the batteries will be wired up in the bank. They'll be wired through the switch here, through the Victron Lynx Distributor, and also through the smart shunt here, which I can connect to my battery monitor from Victron, and then also connect that to my Victron app and be able to check the status of the batteries. So I'm going to go ahead and hook that up, and let's check it out. All right, got everything hooked in. This should be one completed circuit now. So now I'm going to flip the switch, and if everything goes well, then this Victron battery monitor will come on. A little nervous. There we go. So I believe it says 100% because it's got to run through a charge cycle first, so run down and then go up. But here we are, working power system. Pretty exciting. So now I'm going to do a little bit of wire cleanup for this part of the build, and we'll continue on. But pretty happy with how this is coming along so far. Maybe we can lift up. Or actually, yeah, Wes, if you could stand on this side, yeah, that'd be good. All right, one time first. Good. Yep. There's all 4 of us. It's not too bad. Yeah. Did you see this first? Yeah, here. You got it. Scratch the floor either. Just like this, or putting it on? Dang, it's going just like this. There you go.
so bad. Look at this. The shelf.
Go ahead, Trey. If you hold it, that's fine. Either way.
Alright.
That's good.
Looks good. Looks really good.
All right, so I have the Victron Multiplus inverter wired in. Essentially what I have here is a 400 amp mega fuse that is coming off of my positive bar to my positive wire that then runs under and into the positive terminal on the Multiplus inverter. Then I also have my negative here on the negative bar down here. That's run under to the negative. And then I've also connected my VE Smart Bus dongle here to the negative and positive and plugged in the RJ45 cable, I believe it's called, for the smart dongle. And then what I also did, if you can see back here, is I connected my chassis ground using a serrated washer to the bottom part of the vehicle. This is also where there are some ground connections here under this plastic cover. So that chassis ground is connected there, and that runs under to the center ground port here on the negative bus bar of my Victron Lynx Distributor. So all that's wired up now. I'm gonna go ahead and give us power here. So now the power to the system is on, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn the Multiplus on. And there we go. I did hear it click on. So looks like everything's running correctly. All right, now that I have it turned on, I have my multimeter here. Looking at the AC line and neutral for the AC output, and I can see 120 volts AC power coming out of my inverter. Pretty sweet. So yeah, all of this is coming along really well. This has actually been a really fun learning, and I'm really enjoying kind of this process of putting all this together. It's pretty rewarding when stuff works as expected. I do want to give a shout out to the Explorers Life YouTube channel. I'm going to link him below. He's been huge in terms of giving me a ton of information on how stuff works, why it works a certain way. And I also took a lot of inspiration from his wheel well box design for housing the battery bank and all the different pieces that go into making the electrical setup. So shout out to Explorers Life. Like I said, I'll link his channel so you guys can check him out as well. All right, prepping this 6-3 wire to run to my 120 AC breaker. Check it out. Check this out. What'd you find? A little crawfish. Watch it, Jason. All right, so I just struggled pretty hard getting the 6-AUG wire in the 120 volt AC out on the Victron Multiplus. So I'll show you guys where that is. So this is the AC out, and this grommet is sized totally wrong for this wire size. It was pretty difficult to get in. You can see I had to strip this back a fair amount just to be able to work with the wires, but I finally have the wires in here. I'll probably tape this up just to make it look a little bit better right there. Let me go ahead and show you where I'm getting my 120 volt. So if I put the negative here on this wire, positive here on this wire, I have the multimeter. It's 119.5 consistently. So you heard that beep? That's telling me it's registering current and a voltage, and it's coming out. So I'll turn that off for now. And now I'm going to take this wire and run it over to my breaker box. All right, guys, this has been a little bit tedious of a process, but I think that I have almost everything wired up. So let me show you guys what I'm working with. So this is my 6-3 wire coming from the Multiplus inverter over here, and it's running behind this cabinet to my AC breaker panel here. And then on the back of the panel here, I have the grounds going to the ground bus bar. That's our brown wires. The negatives, the black wires here, going to the negative bus bar. The positives going to the outside of each breaker that's going to be activated. So right now I only have 2. The green wire, which is coming from the Multiplus inverter, on the ground bus bar. The negative on the top of my main breaker. So that's my 30 amp main breaker here, which I can just keep that off for now, which is fine. No power's running to this. And then you can see the positive there, the black wire coming off to the positive terminal of the main breaker. And then also this panel has some LED lights that are actually powered by DC power. So I went ahead and wired this up, and now I have my wire here. So when I put this panel in, I'm gonna run that DC wire around, put it on the DC panel with a small fuse, and should be good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now, and then we can turn it on and cross our fingers. All right, so the electrical is all but complete. Let me go ahead and show you guys what it looks like and what the working system looks like. So what we have here is the electrical box, which will be under the bed. We started framing out for the bed frame to sit above the electrical box, but this is the product as of now. So we have our 4 100 amp hour Battleborn batteries. Those are wired into our Victron Energy Lynx Distributor. This is a 400 amp fuse here that connects the batteries to the Lynx Distributor in order to protect the batteries. And then this is the main power switch that turns power on to the whole system. From the Lynx Distributor, we connect to a few things. The solar charge controller and the DC to DC charger. I still haven't wired that in yet. That's going to be the final thing to wire in. The solar charge controller, we are almost completely wired in. As you can see, I have my solar cables here. I just need to crimp and connect those. We don't have solar panels yet, so I'm in no rush to do that, but that's okay. The wires already all ran. And then the Lynx Distributor also connects directly to the 12 volt fuse panel here. So here we have our 12 volt fuse panel, and this contains fuses for our lights and the backlights for the 120 volt breaker box and the fan. I'll also be wiring in our refrigerator and the water pump as well. Then we also run from our Lynx Distributor to our Victron Multiplus inverter. This is what inverts the 12 volt power to 120 volt AC power, and also this takes in our shore power and can charge back into the batteries as well. Above that is the solar isolator. So the solar wires come in, they go into the solar isolator, then you can use that to turn the solar input on and off. And from there, they also come out and back over into the solar charge controller. So let me turn the system on and show you how it all works. So system is now fully on. That means the 12-volt devices will go ahead and turn on. I'll show you guys that. So our lights here, we can turn them on. We can also dim, brighten. There's a few different shortcuts for like 50% dim, 100%. And then you might have heard that beep when I turned it on. That is our fan here. So I can go ahead and show you the fan. Fan's all working, which is great. That loud noise was just the exterior vent opening up. Fan is actually really quiet. And then to turn on the 120 volt power, I'll go ahead and turn on our Multiplus. So now that is on and inverting. You can see that light came on. And then I can flip on my breakers. So that is the main breaker. And then we have two galley outlet, which is just going to be the outlet here above our kitchen area. And then also labeled the other one as main cabin outlets, which is just the 3 outlets here for by the bed, above the bench seating, and by the desk. And I can flip these on and we're good to go. Power is running 120 volt. Now to demonstrate that each of these plugs is working, I actually got plugs that have 2 regular power outlets and then I don't know if you can see those there, but 2 USB-C inputs and 1 USB-A. So I'll go ahead and plug in this iPhone charger here. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and plug in my iPhone and show you that it is charging. So plug it in there and there we go. So we are successfully inverting to 120 volt from the 12 volt battery bank. I'm pretty pleased with kind of how clean this setup turned out. I still have to do a little bit of wire management. I'm gonna put my battery monitor on the side of the bed here and finish wiring up the solar charge controller and the DC to DC charger. But all in all, yeah, really excited with how this has turned out, and giving you guys a little bit of a sneak peek into kind of the future of the framing endeavor. But yeah, if you guys want to go ahead and subscribe to our channel, give the video a like, and feel free to ask us any questions about kind of what we've learned along this process. The electrical, when I first got into it and was first learning about it, was pretty daunting, but after going through the whole process, it's been definitely a great learning experience. It's not something I feel like you can't do. If you take the time to be patient and learn and understand how it all works, it's totally possible for anybody to come from no knowledge of electrical systems to being able to put this together on your own. Again, there were some resources that I used to learn. I'll go ahead and link those down below. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.